and your mind follow your heart. There are things that the heart can understand and feel that the mind cannot relate to. There are things that you feel, that you know in your heart of hearts, that's not logical, it's not practical, it's not realistic, but there's something in you that says, I can do this. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. People that are hungry are uncommon people. Are hungry, have a vision of themselves when they leave here, leaving a legacy and not liabilities.
How do you get to that next level? You must learn to dominate. You cannot compete. Domination, not competition. Anybody can do this, folks. Anybody can do this. This is not about a college degree. This is about massive amounts of action. Whatever you think you're worth, if you're not sure of your own value, your own goals, and what you want, the world will never reward you of what you want, your value, and your goals.
People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry refuse to give up. I'm willing to make this happen. No excuse is acceptable. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I can do it. If anybody's ever done it at any point in time in history, then what's possible for one is possible for me, and I'm going to do it. It's my time. It's possible. It's necessary. It's me. It's hard. It's worth it. I don't know what you want to do. Seemed like yesterday when I was the new kid on the block. Now at 68, I'm the old timer. My mother, I remember the first home I bought her in. This home she saw. She didn't know I had planned to get that home for her. I purchased the home and I said, Mama, I think I know the people who live there. You do? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I'm going to stop in and say hello. And I drove there and I opened the door. And she got out, and Mama at that time, around 76, she held my arm and we were walking toward the house. And we got to the door. And I couldn't hold it anymore. I reached in my pocket, I took the key out, and I put it in the door. This is your home. Mama, I bought this for you. I pushed the door open. She stuck her head in the door. She said, anybody home? I said, no, Mama. Nobody's here. This is yours. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, with the help of God, you'll get it.
Good evening. Good evening. You're welcome to today's Plan Your Trade, Trade Your Plan review for the 28th of October 2019 with Great White FX. If you can hear me clearly and see my screen, please type in yes into the chat box. If you can hear me clearly and see my screen, please type in yes into the chat box so that we can get down to the analysis and review for today. Okay. So, We're going to, as always, we always start with the fundamental news release for next week. And if you ask me, next week is going to be heavy. Next week is really, really, really heavy. Let me pull up, let me filter, let me remove the medium impact. Holidays, no, I could leave the holiday, but let's just look at it. So as you can see, this is an eye view. It starts from, it's going to start on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Australian CPI, trimmed CPI. Wednesday, 115, ADP non-farm employment change. These are all US news. Rate news on that same Wednesday for Canada. Then rate news for the USD, FOMC on that same Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we have New Zealand impact news. Then we have monetary policy news coming in on Thursday for BOJ, that's Bank of Japan. Then Friday, we have non-farm payroll. Next week is going to be raining heavy. So if you don't know what to do next week, just take a break. Or better still, pull out your demo account, dust it out from wherever you've kept it, and use it to test your confidence level. Because if you're not heavily insured, when I mean insured, if you don't know what you're doing and you try out any of these news next week, your account might not live to tell the story. So that aside, let's get down to business for this week. So as always, we're going to start, this is a new week. And like I always say, when you have a new week, it's always advisable you start from the weekly chart. So when you start from the weekly chart, it gives you like an idea of how the prior week's candle closed, and it will give you a view of what to expect in the coming week. Because the candles tell a story. And like I always say, it's not basically the candles that tell the story, but where the story is being told from. That tells you if the candle is viable or if it's something you will just walk over. So looking at the dollar index, it closed like this could pass for a bullish harami, but we're well aware that we are having high impact dollar news coming out Wednesday and Friday. So this might just be a consolidation to a further rally or a further drop. So we can't see. So what do? We drop down to our intraday chart, because I always like using the lower time frame chart to break down my pairs easily. So we go down to the daily chart on this dollar index. So if we look at the dollar index on the daily, it's already touching the daily 13 moving average. And if you notice, it has been above it and the 55 for a time, because I use 13 and 55 PM on the daily. So as you can see, price close. So this might be a kind of a retest. I don't know. I don't have a basic level here. Although this level I'm looking at, the deal with the dollar index is the way the candles are. I can't actually tell what I'm looking at. So I'm always a bit skeptical. So if we have, let's assume this area here is two supports, prior support. We could say this is a retest of the broken level. It would be safe to say this is a retest of the broken level. So there is a possibility that price may continue back down. So we go down to our intraday chart. When we go down to our intraday chart, we try to find out what we're looking at. So that level that we picked up on the daily, it's coming up here. So that's where it's coming up at. And if you notice, that is where price paused on Friday. So now, how do we take this out on the intraday? So before I go, there's one thing I'd like to mention. Every level on my chart is a potential trade setup point. So like this was last week, this gave a bearish formation. But if you understand the logic at this area, you know that this shooting star formation is not valid. because they were just going back to retest a prior broken level, and after that they moved back up. So if you had sold this place or placed your pending order at this place, that's your sell limit, they would have activated it and picked your stop loss. So these are some things you need to know. Like I said, the candles tell a story, but where you're seeing the story being told from is very, very vital. So you must always remember that. So now gold, the dollar index has hit this level here. And if you remember, we got this level from the daily swing level. That's this point here. So it has hit it. So there's a possibility two things might most likely happen here. Price may retrace back to this level before moving back up. Or you may just wake up and you might see a gap like this. So that's it. So, but on the dollar index, what I will call the line in the sand is this area. And that is at 97.65 to 97.55. If the dollar index goes back below this shaded blue area, we might see further weakness in the dollar index. And we have this trend line here. We have this trend line here. That's from this point to this point. This trend line is active. So that's just it for the dollar index. The dollar index is at an area of importance. If it stays below, you may see further weakness. Because if you look at it on the daily, like I said earlier, this is what the scenario you're almost having. So we might say this is a retest of a prior broken level. So the next pair we're going to look at is gold. We're going to look at gold from a weekly point of view. So if we look at gold from the daily point of view, we now move on to the weekly. Like I said, gold is still consolidating, but it's on the daily, it is providing opportunities on the daily, because if you notice, Iran almost took out this high and then pulled back, giving this big shooting star formation. So what do we do on the intraday? Let's look at our intraday to find out what gold is looking like. So this is basically our last week's chart. And if you notice, the chart is still active. I've not changed it. It's still very, very much active. This area was prior resistance and it was taken out. So that has turned it into a support area now. So gold ran into the top of this zone, spiked above and pulled back down. So now the question in gold is, as long as gold stays above this zone, and that zone is between 1498.96 to 1495.30, it has the potential to still retest this area. So this is the scenario we might be looking at gold. As long as it stays above here, it might still rally up to test it. And the thing with gold is that it's heavily volatile. So if it doesn't close back below 1509.51, it has a potential to move higher. But if it closes back below this level like this, then you may see something like this. So that's it for gold. But overall, gold is more like a consolidation. You can see it's more like a consolidation. It's at the top quarter of this consolidation box here. So if it comes up here and gives you a retest, you might get the short entry. So we've already taken care of that. So the next one we're going to look at is the USDJPY. So looking at the USDJPY, this pair did very, very well. Remember, this was where it was last week Sunday when I said it has the potential to still continue back up. So now let's go to the weekly to get an idea of what we have on the weekly. So looking at this pair, this was really, real fast. As you can see, it's pretty bullish on the weekly. So we go down to the daily, where price is, there's a swing low here, as you can see. There's a swing low here. And if I zoom out of my chart, let me hide some of this. Okay. Let me switch to line chart. If I switch to line chart, I'm going to find there's something here. Then switch back to candles. That's where price is now. At that point that you have price, you can see here, here, and a little bit to this point. So that's where you have price now. So what do we do with this information? You drop down to your intraday chart. So now this is where price is. As long as it stays above this shaded blue area, that is 99.42 to 99.31, might still move higher. But should price go back below this zone, something like this, excuse me, remember there's a falling trend line here. So should price do like this, drop to this trend line, and this trend line holds, it might pull back up a bit and then drop back. Or you might see something like this, a move above this trend line towards that area. So that's just it for the USDCHF. One thing I don't like about the USDCHF is that it is heavily choppy. It can just keep moving sideways, 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 weeks on both sides, chopping out on both sides. So it's not always a fun pair for me. I don't always trade it more often. But it's at an area of value. So let's see how the week starts off. And if the dollar starts to weaken, most likely the USDCHF may go south. So that's the next pair we're going to look at is EURUSD. So looking at EURUSD from the daily point of view, I have so many things here. Okay, looking at the EURUSD from the daily point of view, let's first go to the weekly. If we look at it on the weekly, let's start from this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 weeks, it has been below the daily 13. It has not closed above it for 13 weeks. So prior week, it closed above. So what you might be looking at now is a retest of this 13 and this prior structure here. If I switch to line chart, you'll see the structure clearly here. Oh, all my charts are back. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of it so it's easier for you guys to see. So that's where price is at the moment. So if we go back to the candles, so this pullback might be a retest of this structure point, as you can see here, here, here. So it might be a retest of this structure point to move higher. So now, how do we take that on our intraday chart? So that's where price is at the moment now. That's where price is at the moment. If it stays above 1.1083 to 1.1066, it might continue higher. So this is something you might see. If it stays above here, you may see it move higher. But if it breaks here, you need to see a break retest and the move lower. So that's it for the EURUSD. It's at a prior resistance now that might act as support level as long as price is above it. So the next pair we're going to look at is the Euro GBP. Euro GBP is just very, very undecided. It's consolidating, and this consolidation is taking place. Let's go to the weekly. It's taking place at a major trend line. Let me pick the trend line if I get it. Okay, here. Oh, where did the trend line go to? Okay. Yeah. So that's where you have price now. Do you see where price is? For a whole week, it sat at this area. Just a whole week. It sat at this area, just consolidating. Just consolidating basically. So if you ask me on this pair is just a little bit of caution. It's sideways. This sloping channel, it has broken into the top side. and it is making higher highs, higher lows, as you can see. The lows are getting slightly higher, and so are the highs. So you might be looking at something like this. It might be starting to move higher like this with something here. Let me draw this clearly. This looks like a sort of a channel, something like this. So it's looking like an upward sloping channel at that trend line. So how do you take care of this? Go down to, okay, we're already in our intraday chart. That's just basically what we have here. It might just gradually continue moving up and slope back up on the pair. So that's just what we have. That's just what we have on the pair. So the next pair we're going to look at, and the indecision on the Euro GBP is creating also indecision on the GBPUSD, because the Euro GBP to an extent has an effect on the GBP pairs most often. If there's indecision on the Euro GBP, you would see the same effect play out across GBP pairs. They will be undecided in their direction. And that's just basically what's happening here. So if we look at this pair now, we move over to the daily. Well, seems to have buckled under this area. My students will understand what happened here. Seems to have buckled under this area. So logically, we might see a bit of weakness on the GBP USD this week, but it's still with a little bit of caution. If you look at to your left, you have structure here. That was prior resistance that might act as support should price start coming back down. Then you also have this area here. So those are just areas you need to watch. So if I go down now to my GBPUSD, so that's where price is sitting above. As you can see, that's where price is basically sitting above. This area is giving it resistance. So should price go below 1.2797 to 1.2742, something like that. Should price go below here, you wait for a retest, then you might see more below. But if it stays above here, there is a tendency it might still rally for that. And I think there is a trend line here. There's a trend line here. Let me go to my daily time frame. Yep. You see it. Pulling back from this top channel here. It's a daily channel. So I might see a bit of further weakness on this pair. Might see a bit of further weakness on this pair. So the best bet on this pair is just let it rally. If it gets rejected at the rally, then you look to take a short position. But just be a little bit cautious. So the next pair we'll be looking at is the GBP CHF. The same system. This is a weekly. A little doji candle. If we go down to the daily, the same thing. You see it, the same thing. But where is it happening at? This structure area here. This structure zone. This is a major structure zone here. So that's where it's just happening at, staying below 1.2813. So how do we play this out on the intraday chart? Basically, we seem to have a small trend line here. Excuse me, let me check something. Something like TradingView has a new system, so I must always make sure, okay, my drawings are in order. TradingView has a new trading system. So we seem to have a kind of a trend line here, a triangle to be precise. Yes, I have a kind of a triangle. This triangle is still active. So the best thing to wait on this pair, for this pair, is just to wait for it around here. Wait to see what happens here. If it gets rejected, then you might take a short position down to this area. But if it breaks above like this, it might move higher. You will advise this pair moves very fast. Very, very fast. A 20 pip stop loss on this pair, if you don't know where you're taking it from, it's just like dashing the market your money. So the next pair we're going to look at is USDJPY. Hello, can you guys still hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. So, let's look at this pair. This is the dollar yen. Looking at this pair from the daily point of view, the green colors are zones. The blue, if you see blue on my chart, it's support. If you see red on my chart, it's resistance. The zones, the green, any area that is shaded green, it's a high value area. It's a high value area. Now let me go back to this pair. There's no green here. Is there green on GBP? Yes, there's a green here. That means I expect if price hits here, there's a higher possibility it will turn back down. That's why you have different colorings on my chart. And so if you see red, you're looking at resistance. If you see blue, you're looking at support. Have I answered your question? So let me continue to, what pair was I on? USDJPY. So the USDJPY, I can't make head and tail out of it. I just basically can't. But if you look at it carefully on the 4-hour, you see this big bearish candle. Bullish candle. You see this candle? They're just dancing within the range of this candle. So that's just what they are waiting on. They're waiting on who has the strength to either break above or below. Whoever that is able to do that would have control on this currency pair for the time being. So two things, either they break above, retest, and move above, or they come down here, break below, and move lower. But be well advised, they can also reject from this place and move back down, and they can also bounce from this place and move back up. So that's just basically it on this pair. This pair is not making up his mind yet. His mind is not yet made up. So you just need to be careful if you trade this pair. Just wait for it at the extreme zones. You'll be better off that way. The next pair we're going to look at is the Euro Yen. So let's look at the Euro Yen from so looking at the Euro Yen, well, like I said sometime last week, or not last week, prior weeks, that this pair said that there's a big W formation here. There's a big W formation here on the weekly. Let me see if I can find it on the weekly. Yes, it's clearer on the weekly. Let me switch to line chart. Do you see the big W? When you see this, most often it signifies a bottom. When you see an M formation, most often it signifies a topping. It's a double top, it's a double bottom. So somebody is asking what strategy. I use basically supply and demand with support and resistance and price action. That's just basically what I use. So you can send me a message on my you can send me a message at the end, then I might be able to put you through since you're new. So looking at this now, if you see the structure here, price got rejected from there. So what we might see is a pullback to retest this area. And there's one thing I always tell people, don't make your support or resistance a single line. It can be risky. Why? Because if you look at this is the line chart here. If you look at the line chart, I have these two swing highs here. These two swing highs, these two swing highs, they are forming a double top and price broke it. So it's now a resistance. But if I switch back to my candles, you see this candle swing higher now. So what do I have here now? What I'll have here is a resistance zone. I'm going to have here is a resistance zone. So now, sorry. going to be a support zone because it has been broken to the top side. So what will I be expecting here? If price comes back in here, it might find support here. So if you see a sell position on this pair from the daily, be very careful. If it stays above what's this zone? 120.05 to 11 to 119.72. As if it stays above this zone, it might continue higher. But below this zone, then we might see further weakness. So that's what we have on this pair. So as long as it stays above this area here, it might continue to move higher. But a break below, what do I mean by a break below? Something like this, then you're going to see price move lower. So for now, if you look at it, it seems to be sitting at this area here. If you look at it on the daily, because if you switch, sometimes it's always good to use your line chart. It saves you a lot of stress. If you switch your line chart, there's a what I would call a J hook. There's a J hook here. Let me get it properly. There's a J hook here. Then if you switch back to your candles, that's where price is at the moment. So it's not safe taking this sell. Wait for it to rally back up. So on this pair, what you'll be waiting to do is to see if it breaks here. If it breaks here to the downside, then you might take a short position. Or better still, you wait for price to pull back into this area. It close back. Let me show you. If it pulls back into this area and starts giving you a bearish signal, you need to wait for a good candle close back out of this zone. That's back out of 120.90 before you take a shot. Because if you don't get that, it might from here do this. So those are some of the things you need to be aware of on this pair. So for now, it's sitting at a support. Not a good idea to take a short position. The best thing is to wait for price to bounce back up because it's sitting at a support level. So the next pair we're going to look at is GBPJPY. So we'll look at the GBPJPY from a daily point of view first. Having troubles at this zone. Having a bit of troubles at this zone. So basically on this pair, I'm picking up something here. Picking up possible support on a retest here. And I'm picking up another one here. And I'm picking up another one here. So these are areas of interest from a daily point of view. So, well, let me look at it at the weekly. Now, that's interesting. It's finding support above the weekly 13. It needs to close back below that weekly 13 to continue down. So let's go back to our intraday chart. So now, this is his own support zone here. So let me shade this area out. This is his own support zone. That's where price is sitting on at the moment. That's where price is sitting on at the moment. If it stays above here, you might see something like this. It might rally up into this place. But if it doesn't break above here, then you might take a short position back down. A proper short would be something like this down to this area. So that's just it. If you notice, they are all not having any significant move yet. You see, small candles, because the Euro GBP is not making up its mind. So until the Euro GBP makes up its mind, the GBP pairs might also not make up their mind. So the next pair we're going to look at is the AUD/USD. So looking at the AUD/USD from the weekly point of view, well, it rallied into a little resistance area here. Not much. This pair is posting a W formation. You can see it on the weekly. It's posting a W formation. You just have to watch this area for now. So let's go back to our candles. So go to the daily. Go to the daily. Now, like I said, I used two moving averages, 13 and 55. They both are prices above both of them. And the moving averages are dynamic support and resistance. They are dynamic. So price on the daily, they have found out that they are more effective on the daily and 4 hours sometimes. But I prefer them on the daily so I don't run into a trap. Because why? Somebody who saw this bearish engulfing might open a sell position and price will move against his position. And then the person might wonder why. It was sitting at a dynamic support, and that caused it to rally. So now let's go down to our intraday chart to find out what we expect from this. So if you notice this pair is just gradually moving sideways. Just gradually moving sideways. So it might just continue this down, because if you notice, that's what it has been doing. It will rally, flag, rally, flag, rally, flag. So this pair will continue his move to the upside. It's going to continue his move to the upside when you get something like this. But this area might also serve as a bit of a resistance. So until you see something like this, move here, something like this, and move higher. If not, as long as it stays below 68.58, you may see it still continue to the downside to test this trend line. This trend line and these shaded areas here. So that's just it, because if you look at it from the daily point of view, it might still drop. As with a close below here, it might still drop. So the next one we're going to look at is the Euro AUD. The Euro AUD is not made up his mind. He's just been moving sideways. He hasn't made up his mind. But for now, it's at a support structure. You can see that the support structure. It broke this trend line, then rallied into it on Friday and got rejected from there. So the deal now is, as long as it stays above 162.09, it might still move higher. As long as it stays above this level, it might still move higher. Although, if you look at it, it has some trend lines waiting for it. This major one, this one that has broken to the downside. So I just can't say for now, but it's at the support structure. If this support structure gives way, and you expect something like this, break, retest, then a move lower. If not, it might run up back to this area. So that's just it. So the next pair we'll be looking at is the USD CAD. Looking at the USD CAD, like I've been saying from last week, USD CAD has a destination. And with the BOC, Bank of Canada's rate news on Wednesday, and FOMC2 on Wednesday, they might hit this level. What you will see is they will spike through this level and move back up. That's just what they might most likely do, because if you look at this chart now, where will you find stop losses? Stop losses are going to be stacked here. So that's what they will go for. So the next pair we're going to look at is one of my students trades NASDAQ. So let me just, for his sake, look at NASDAQ. So looking at NASDAQ is at a critical point here. Is at a critical point here. That's at this top area. This top area here. So if price hits here and doesn't close, and that area is at 80.29. That area is at 80.29. So this, you expect this to happen for a continued move higher. But should it come back down, you have support at this area. So if it comes down, if price should come down, it might find support here to move higher. But it closed back below this level, same price lower. There's a close back below 79.44 with same price lower. So I wish you all, thank you all for taking your time to attend today's review. I wish you all a beautiful night's sleep, a beautiful trading week ahead, and don't forget the news. It's going to be a heavy news week. So if you're trading, be very, very careful. Do not forget your risk management. Use your appropriate lot size to avoid stories that touch. So good night, everybody, and wish you all a beautiful night's sleep and blessed week ahead.